very happy, almost New Year. Today's New Year's Eve. 2023 has been the year through the books. So much to talk about what happened on this year. But we will get started by creating an atmosphere of auspiciousness. We're going to chant the Mangala Charan prayers. Today, these are prayers that we chant before we start any sort of an auspicious endeavor. These are prayers done to pray for auspiciousness, but also for the speaker to offer obeisances respectfully to all of you. So praying that we're able to provide some value today and speak as our acharyas have spoken, and we're just vessels for their knowledge today. So we'll start with the Mangala Charan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Stajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Harite Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Kiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pasyatya Deshatarine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namane Shri Vashabhanavi Devi Daita Prabhatre Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha. Madhura Jhola Premadhya Shri Rupananda Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namosute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuta Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine. Thank you everyone for coming today for the Sunday program. So I was reflecting on how we greet each other on occasions like this, right? Like no one says, have a good New Year or have a good birthday. Has anyone ever wished you, have a good birthday? Does anyone? Have a good anniversary? Or how do we wish people happy? So the word, we use the word happy so often, sometimes we forget that, right? But we all want to be happy. Right? Anyone here who wants to be sad? Anyone? 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 So it's very funny I asked this question. The reason is because when I was maybe 17, 18 years old, 19, 20, I gave my first talk on Bhakti Yoga at my university. So first time I'm speaking actually like on spirituality in a public setting, and I was nervous. So they gave me a very easy topic, which was happiness, which is today's class also. It was a very simple topic because you can't throw a lot of curveballs in happiness, right? You talk about reincarnation, you can have somebody saying, oh, I don't believe in reincarnation, or you talk about karma, I don't believe in karma. Nobody is going to say, I don't believe in happiness. But when I asked this question, does anyone want to be sad? This guy put up his hand. He said, that's my goal in life. I want to be sad all the time. So he said, I want to be sad. That's my goal in life. And I didn't even know how to counter that argument. Like I was, again, very new to this. So one of the devotees who was attending, he jumped in and he said, yes, that makes sense, that you want to be sad in your life, because if you're sad all the time, chances are you will think about God more. But then when you think about God, you become happy again. So you're never going to be sad all the time. So I thought that was a good answer. But in general, no one's life ambition is to be sad. We all want to be happy. And it is essential to our lives. Like, happiness is absolutely essential to our life. If we are not happy, there are so many things that we can't do and we can't function. And in this principle of happiness is exemplified in the Bhagavad Gita, because when Arjuna has seen the battlefield, up till the battlefield, Arjuna was so up till that point in the battlefield, it's not like Arjuna was in denial. He knew what was going on. He knew he had to fight, and he was in the battlefield. Shri Radha Kunj Bihari ki. See, when you see Radha Kunj Bihari, you have to smile. Because Krishna also gives such a nice smile that it's hard not to smile. So, in Bhagavad Gita also, when Arjuna he's not in denial. Arjuna is a warrior. So he knows what he's about to experience. He knows it's a battle. So he obviously knew what was going to happen in the battle. He knew he had to fight the Kauravas. It's not like he suddenly realized in the battlefield, oh, Kauravas are my cousins. I never thought of it all this while. He knew very well why he was fighting. So in this situation, it was important to realize that when Arjuna saw reasons to Krishna why he cannot fight, his first reason is actually not about morality. His first reason is not about what will happen to my future generations. He gives those reasons subsequently, but his first reason is that if I kill everybody, with who will be there to celebrate me winning? That means even Arjuna is establishing that what is the point if I win, I'm just going to be sad because nobody else is there to celebrate it. So even one of the big reasons why Arjuna says he doesn't want to fight is because he knows that's not going to make him happy, even though he knows that's the right thing to do. So from the beginning of the Gita, I'm going to beg for forgiveness ahead of time. I have cedar allergies and I forgot to take my allergy medication today, so there's a lot of sneezing. Hopefully Shri Radha Kunj Bihari will be very merciful and not make me sneeze at a climatic moment, because then obviously affects the flow. So, Arjuna tells Krishna that he doesn't want to fight because he's not going to be happy if he loses, or even if he wins, he's not going to be happy. So we have established this, that we want to be happy, and for most of us, we want people who we care about to be happy as well, right? Anyone here wants to see people who they care about unhappy? Anyone gets joy in punishing or in torturing the loved ones? I know everyone is looking at you today, Shreyas. I don't know why. I feel like we should talk after this class. Yeah? When I asked anyone wants to be unhappy, the looks came at you. Anyone torturing, the looks came at you. Let's talk afterwards. So, sorry, you're sitting right in front of my line of sight. I have to pick on you a little bit. Unless other people come and sit in the front, you're going to be picked on for some time. So, if you all care about Shreyas, please come and sit in the front. Otherwise, he's going to be picked on. So, I'm just kidding. So, no one wants to torture their loved ones, right? We want to be happy. We want other people to be happy in general. Now, and I want to establish this class is spoken about in general of humanity. It is not, we're not talking about the exceptions here, right? So, if we're about 30 people in this room or so, small subset, but if 30 of us, we care about our happiness and happiness of our own loved ones, and our loved ones also care about happiness of their loved ones, you'd think the world should be a happier place, right? But is the world a happy place? %31 said they were happy. Majority of them said that sometimes they were happy, and over 12% said that they're unhappy all the time. It seems like a small percentage, but that's a lot. 12%. 12 out of every 100 people, that's 6 out of 50 people. 6 out of 50 people tell that they're sad. Oh, huge. And it's a very scary statistic to think about, that people are sad. So when people are sad, and they're sad because two things. One is they're genuinely not happy, but also because they don't know what is going to make them happy. Right? There's a reason why the self-help industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry today. Every single person has written a book on how to find happiness. There are so many movies, podcasts, books, newspaper articles, web articles, whatever you follow for this pursuit of happiness. In fact, Pursuit of Happiness is also a movie itself. But everybody wants to be happy, right? And this is but yet, despite of all of this, people are still looking for something more. People are still looking for something more. So how do we find out then? Like, how do we find out what true happiness is? And naturally, the society we live in is also, it's not easy to be happy all the time, right? Why is it difficult to be happy all the time in the society we live in? Why is it happening? Exactly, threefold miseries. And what are the threefold miseries? What are the three kinds of miseries that hit all of us? Adi Bhautik, Adi Devi, Adhyatmik. So can you explain, Tribanga Prabhu, what are each of those?
From other people that you encounter, they make you go through some suffering or whatever it is. And that becomes internal. So you go through your internal battles of that's the main reason for most of the people aren't happy as well, because they don't know how to find happiness within. And there are books from Gauranga Prabhu how to find internal happiness. Yeah, thank you. It was very good answer. Let's give Prabhu a round of applause. It was very well said. So, so we're living actually in a society where it is very hard to be happy. And that's the crazy part, right? We look at a society today, so much advancement is there. So many things have progressed. There should be so many things that would have caused misery to someone, 50 years ago, is like can be done in a snap of a second right now. And despite of that, we are still, as a society, getting sadder and sadder and sadder. The people measure this. There's called happiness index, where they go to various countries and try to measure the happiness index, and consistently, some of the most developed nations rate as the ones that are least happy actually. So, despite of all of the wealth, all of this advancement, somehow happiness seems to be bereft. So, that's because the threefold misery still exists, right? And let me also clarify. Like when we talk about misery, it doesn't have to be something which is very dramatic. It can be a very miserable thing. It can be something small also, right? Like me having an allergy today is actually causing me a lot of misery. It seems small, but it affects my ability to speak. It affects, my brain is a little foggy. Like it's like heart, right? And it's like small, small things. They are difficult for us. So, despite of how much ever advancement might be there, how much ever society is trying to make us more happier, yet something is missing. Something is missing, right? So, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita answers this question on why are we unhappy. So, Krishna says here, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So Krishna establishes here that happiness is directly connected to peace. Peace of mind, as you said about Gopal Prabhu earlier, right? So Krishna is making that connection here. That without peace, you cannot have happiness. And this is the peace, and that's the title of our class today, Let There Be Peace. That word peace, particularly in the last 3 months,
has come across a lot in our media, right? This year has been a year of global conflict. I was doing some research on this yesterday. It was 96, 98%. The number of deaths in 2023, and this statistic was produced in September of 2023. So it doesn't include any of the numbers that have happened in Middle East in this. But this year, the number of deaths caused due to global conflict has risen by 98%. 98% this year. There are over 91 active wars taking place right now. We don't. I was actually shocked. I thought I'm like well aware of what's happening in in media and news and stuff. 91, and there's a whole list of where all this is happening. It is terrifying. It is very. And before we move forward, I want to be very clear that this class is going to become positive. I promise. This is not a very depressing class. At the end of the year, this class will pick up. So, I'm not here to talk about global conflict today, which is important, but we're not here talking about that. So this class is going to get positive. But Krishna here is clearly talking about that the key to happiness is actually finding peace. And we have to be able to find peace before we can attempt to be happy. And because the connection is so profound, right? Is that he makes this that if we're not connected with Krishna, we cannot be intelligent, we're not going to have a steady mind, we're not going to be peaceful, we're not going to be happy. So these are all beautifully tied in together into what is the key for this, right? So today, as we are wrapping up with 2023, really wanted to spend some time talking about peace, right? Especially inner peace, because how we are internally, our inner state, our inner consciousness affects how things happen externally. It's our inner peace is what. That's why the self-help books. You're not going to find a lot of the volume of books that address how to find peace within yourself is substantially greater than how to find peace in Ukraine, Russia, for example, because we may not have that much influence to influence that, right? But we have that level of influence within ourselves. This is what Krishna says also in the 5th chapter, right? Where Krishna gives us that free will. Krishna has created the society for us, but this world that we're in, the material world we're in, and the miseries are also there. But we have to figure out a way how to live in this world and serve Him, and it's all connected. Until we're able to find peace within ourselves, it is very hard to serve. It's important to note that peace within ourselves is such a powerful thing because you can be peaceful within yourself despite of the surroundings around you. But Srila Prabhupada is a good example of that. When Srila Prabhupada was in the Jaladuta, coming to US for the first time, and in that boat was getting rocked heavily because of storms in the Atlantic Ocean. But Srila Prabhupada was having health crisis at that time. He was suffering from heart attack and stroke. But then you read Prabhupada's writing at that time, it's in a full
state of surrender. Krishna, I'm doing this for you, you take care of me. It was not like, oh my God, why did I come here? I could have just sat in the temple in Radha Damodar. It wasn't that. So Srila Prabhupada, even in that state, was being peaceful. So that's why it's so important for us to work on our inner peace, because irrespective of what the situation is around you, if we are able to work on ourselves and find out what it means to be peaceful within ourselves, then the situations outside affect us less. And when I mean affect us less, it affects because we're Vaishnavas, we're human beings, we're compassionate people. It would affect us because we see suffering of others. However, it doesn't derail us from where we're supposed to be moving forward if we work on our inner peace. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita again answers the question of how to find peace within ourselves in this really nice verse, which we'll read the Sanskrit. Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nispraha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantim adi gacchati. A person who has given up desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So Krishna here very clearly explains how one can attain real peace. So we'll read the purport of this verse here, which is very, very nice verse because again, right, leaving it with a question, open-ended question, I want inner peace, is not as fruitive as being able to say, okay, this is how you get peace, and let's break this down. So in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada elaborates, to become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desire for becoming Krishna consciousness is actually desirelessness. To understand one's actual position as the eternal servitor of Krishna without falsely claiming this material body to be oneself and without falsely claiming proprietorship over anything in the world is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. One who is situated in this perfect stage knows that because Krishna is the proprietor of everything, everything must be used for satisfaction of Krishna. Arjuna did not want to fight for his own sense satisfaction, but when he became fully Krishna conscious, he fought because Krishna wanted him to fight. For him, there was no desire to fight, but for Krishna, the same Arjuna fought to his best ability. Real desirelessness is the desire for satisfaction of Krishna, not an artificial attempt to abolish desires. The living entity cannot be desireless or senseless, but he does have to change the quality of the desires. A materially desireless person certainly knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore he does not falsely claim proprietorship over anything. This transcendental knowledge is based on self-realization, namely knowing perfectly well that every living entity is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna in spiritual identity, and that the eternal position of the living entity is therefore never on the level of Krishna or greater than him. This understanding of Krishna consciousness is the basic principle of real peace. So in this verse, Krishna breaks down 4 steps by which we can attain real peace. So each of this is a step. The first step, he says, is give up all desire for sense gratification. Does anyone know what the word gratification actually means? What does gratification mean? I'm sorry? No, it's not empathy. Short-term satisfaction? Yes. Does it make you happy? In the short term, does it make you happy? Yes, yes. So gratification is that. It's the short-term emotional reaction of happiness in response to fulfillment of a desire or goal. Like, let's be, I know we're at a temple, but has anyone ever got a new phone? Anyone got a new phone? How did you feel when you opened the phone for the first time? Happy? And how did you feel when the phone fell on the floor? Not immediately, hopefully, at some point. Everyone's phone, is anyone here whose phone has never fallen on the floor? Good, I'm glad. Gravity works for all of us then. So, how do you feel when that phone falls on the floor? Heart-wrenching, right? It literally feels like your heart also broke into thousand pieces. Prabhu speaking with experience looks like. But it feels like something, and it is literally just a phone. But it hurts so much, like you feel like my heart just broke into those 1,000 pieces. Even though it is so easy to like replace it sometimes, right? Especially screens. But it's like, especially the screen, not the phone, the screen protector, less than $10 on Amazon. So screen protectors can help. But what is the point of the point of gratification actually is quick happiness. And anything that gives you quick happiness is bound to give you quick misery also, right? And it's constant. In our society, we are trained for sense gratification. Anything that is training us is how do we become happy fast, right? How do we become happy fast? It doesn't matter, is that the right way to be happy? We don't talk about the long-term benefits of that. It's all about how to become happy fast. That's what efficiency is, right? If you step back and think about, we're doing everything to make our lives efficient. Why? It's because the more and more we're efficient, the more and more productive we may be, the more and more happiness we feel quickly. Now, I'm not saying any of this is a bad thing. We should be efficient, we should be productive. All of these are good things. But our society has built us in such a way where we just want to get quick happiness, quick wins, right? Everything is fast. Like I was discussing this with my husband the other day, like, and I mean, I shop a lot on Amazon. Like I do shop, and I'm full disclosure, I do. And I was discussing this with him, like I read about social practices, I read about things online, I read about like, should I be really supporting this company, like ethically, right? But it's so hard to step away. Why? Because it's quick gratification. It's quick happiness. The joy of seeing an Amazon box outside my house makes me happy. Like it's so subtle, but it's there. And here Krishna is saying that you have to work on giving up that desire, because sense gratification is temporary happiness. In the 18th chapter of the Gita, Krishna talks about what kind of happiness is happiness in the modes of nature also. And he describes specifically that happiness that is in the mode of ignorance is like this. It's happiness that is completely devoid of self-realization. It's just happiness that is purely temporary. You know, the analogy is what is bitter in the beginning and bitter in the end. So a happiness that's in the mode of ignorance like this, you know, is not happy in the beginning or not happy in the end also. But happiness in the mode of goodness, which is devoid of sense gratification, may be bitter in the beginning, but it's wonderful in the end afterwards. So first step to attain real peace is to give up these desires for sense gratification. And the reason sense gratification is so dangerous, and the reason Srila Prabhupada uses the word sense gratification for kaman, you know, which is material desires, is because it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. I want to come back to the phone analogy, right? We all experience it. And again, please do not take this class as my directive saying do not get a new phone or something like that. If you need, it's your choice. But it's a slippery slope, right? Every year, you know, and I'm going to speak for Apple at least, every year, you know, I keep still saying Steve Jobs. It started with Steve Jobs, and now Tim Cook is doing it. Every year they come, stand on the stage, and they bring out a new phone, which is just slightly bigger, slightly faster, has one extra camera in it. I'm going to go spend $1,000 to buy it. Every year. I just don't understand. And then, if you decide, like, I'm going to hold out this year, I'm going to fight sense gratification, what happens 2 years later? Your phone is slow, you're forced to buy another phone anyway. It is constant, right? And it is a slippery slope. Once you get into the mode of sense gratification, you can never step away. Because what you may have started off desire for, I want to get this for efficiency, or I want to get this, then it just becomes a desire. I want it. You know, I want it. I don't want to have a bulky phone, you know, I want to have something cool. And, you know, and it's peer pressure, right? It is modern day peer pressure. It is adult peer pressure. Kids experience it, we experience it too, right? So this is why it's dangerous, because it's a very, very slippery slope. So the more and more material desires we have, the more and more they bind us. King Kulashekara talks about this in Mukundamala also, where he says that these desires are binding us in this ocean, and we have to break away from this ocean. And how do we break away from ocean is what Prabhupada explains in this purport, by becoming desireless, which is step 2. We should become desireless, live free from desires. Is it possible to be desireless? No. It is very hard to be desireless, because, you know, we desire things, right? It's human nature. But Prabhupada, in the first line of the purport, so wonderfully explains desire for becoming Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. So the word Prabhupada has used many times is dovetail. Dovetail, or channel your desires that you have towards serving of God. You know, if you desire to eat good food, desire to eat prasadam. You like music, desire to listen to kirtan. You like to dance, desire to dance in our kirtan. So any of our desires, you know, you desire new technology, use it in service of Krishna. You know, if you do not know how to use technology in service of Krishna, please come to a sound room and see it. It's completely desiring to use. Tarun Kishore Prabhu finds some technology, he's right there. He finds some technology, he sends us in WhatsApp, never heard of it, and then suddenly it manifests, and, you know, microphones sound better or video quality is better. This is desiring to serve Krishna, you know. If you like to build things, you like to build things, and, you know, you have desire to get the best power tools. Get the best power tools and help build something for the Lord. So all of our desires, every one of our desire can be dovetailed towards Krishna. And when we do that, that's when we start feeling peace, right? Because now you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for somebody else. And that's a fundamental aspect of peace, is also that. To find inner peace is realizing that, and that's the next one, we're getting to this, it's not about you, it's about somebody else. The more and more we think inner peace is about us, it's actually not. Inner peace is about how can we be better person outside. And that's what helps us become more peaceful inside. So the more we let go that we are in control, the more we feel peace. So first two steps to attain real peace is to give up all desires for sense gratification, become desireless. The third is give up sense of proprietorship. This word, sense of proprietorship, comes again in another, it comes a few times in Bhagavad Gita, it's particularly in three texts. Bhagavad Gita 3:30, Krishna talks about this, later in the 9th chapter also, is because we feel, we've come into this material world here. This is Krishna's, everything that we see here is created by the Lord's mercy. Yet, we feel that we own it. This is my computer. This is my paper. This is my phone. This is my water bottle, This is my carpet, This is my watch. Like, we feel entitled to this, right? Because we feel entitled to this, when something happens to it, we feel like, how dare this happen to it, right? The phone is a good example, right? The phone broke, my phone broke, right? It's okay, again, please grieve the broken phone. It's important, for a healing process. But because we have such a strong sense of proprietorship, we think we own this. And imagine this feeling of we think we own something is kicked up a notch, where you feel like, I own this country, or I own these people, or I own this land. That does not belong to you. And imagine if that sense of proprietorship is not addressed at that level, then it can escalate really fast into something dangerous here, right? And that's a big problem in our society today, is that we think we own everything. But in reality, we're just guests here. We just don't know how long we're going to be guests in this material world, but we're just guests here. And it's like, but we're pretending this is our own. Nobody likes that, right? No one likes a guest that comes into the house and just pretends it's their own. One day you may tolerate it, 2 days you may tolerate it, the third day you're like, dude, like, this is my space, like, let's talk this, right? Like, it's hard. But that's what we've done. We've taken Krishna's beautiful universe that he's given us and completely claimed it as our own. Completely claimed it as a look what we've done to the world, like, from an environmental perspective today. Collectively, each year, each generation is giving a more, what's the word for that? There was a word for it. We're giving a more damaged planet to our next generation. That's so bad, Which parent wants to give their child less than what they had? Every parent, everyone here who's a parent, anyone here wants to give less than what you have to your child? Purposely? Say that, what? You had a very privileged life, I want you to suffer. Here, I'm going to give you less. No. We want the best for our children, right? But unfortunately, with Mother Earth, we haven't been able to do that. And it's so sad. And because why? We think we own. We feel Bhumi Devi is ours. Whatever we want, we can do that, right? And that sense of proprietorship, because we think everything belongs to us, when it's taken away from us, or when it's injured, it hurts us, it affects us. How can we feel peace then, right? And it's amazing, that sense of proprietorship, how soon it starts. And I see that in my 3-year-old. If you take something that's hers, she will react. She already thinks, this is mine. It's my ownership. How dare you take it from me, right? So imagine, and she was doing this way before she was 3. So like, the proprietorship is such a powerful thing. So imagine if we dovetail and change that to understand nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. It is such a liberating feeling. It is such a liberating feeling to believe that we don't own anything here. We don't own anything. Everything we have in our life belongs to the Lord. So I am just a caretaker. I am a caretaker or a gardener. That is all my responsibility here is. I want to ensure that as the caretaker, I will not damage this. As a caretaker, I will take the best care of this, but it belongs to Krishna. It's like same thing for our body, right? We know our body is temporary, but this has also come for Krishna. So our job is we're caretakers of our body. We take care of our soul, we take care of our body also, right? We take care. So that the minute we take proprietorship out of the picture and understand that everything belongs to Krishna, it is such a liberating feeling. It's a very liberating feeling. And it's something that it's worth trying. That in your life, if you're overtly attached to something, just step back and think, okay, this doesn't belong to me, this belongs to Krishna. You will see magic happen. The minute you say, this is not for me, this is for the Lord, it's like Krishna just says, okay, you've taken one step forward, I'll help you now. It's a very profound thing. And finally, and this is one of the hardest steps, which is why it's the fourth step, is that we should be devoid of all false ego. What does false ego, what does ego mean? Let's start with ego. What does ego mean? What is ego? It defines us as who we are. I am so and so. Like, I am so and so, right? Like I have this ego. Like I am, I don't know, I'm a tall person. So that causes some ego within me, right? False ego is ego everybody has. Ego is also not good, but we have it. False ego is dangerous because false ego is you think you are something that you're not. That is false ego, right? Thinking that I am the own master of the universe is completely false ego because I'm not. Thinking I'm the master of my water bottle is ego. Is it false ego? I'm not sure. But thinking we're the master of the universe, which most of us sometimes do, that's false ego. And it is very hard to let go of false ego. Because it's what gives us that like strength that like, I'm in control, right? So letting go of control is so hard. Just when we talked about letting go of proprietorship, like letting go of things, objects that we think are ours itself is hard. Imagine letting go of the feeling that you are not in control. We all like to control things, right? Like see, just now, Janvi was playing with the ball. She wanted to control the ball. She didn't want the ball to just roll away. She wanted to make sure it stayed with her, right? We all want to control that ball in our life. We don't want that to go away. And because our desire to control things sometimes is so, it's so strong that it's hard for us to let go, and it kind of just makes it even harder and harder for us to find that peace because we're always worried about how do we keep this within our control, right? So when we let go of our false ego and understand that our only ego that we should have is we are servants of the Supreme Lord. That's our only ego. That should be something that should give us pride, that we're the servants of the Supreme Lord. We want to serve the Lord. And everything that we do is for the pleasure of the Lord. The minute we're able to think this and understand that we cannot solve all problems in life, we're able to move forward. We're able to move forward. It's very interesting. This was a question, I think it came sometime back in one of the classes, a youth class, we're discussing the pastime of Bharat Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you know the pastime of Bharat Maharaj was a devotee of the Lord. He was in deep meditation. And because he was in deep meditation and he got distracted by the deer, he had to come back again. Now, it seems like a very harsh punishment for somebody who spent so much of his life, trying to serve the Lord. So I had shared, I think it was a youth class, and I had shared with them something I heard in a class by Radhika Raman Prabhu, where he says, actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is very instructive, right? The reason Sukadev Goswami picks certain stories to share with Parikshit Maharaj is so we can also learn something from it. Through that pastime of Bharat Maharaj, we are being taught that in our thinking that we can solve all problems is also false ego. Because we cannot solve all problems. Bharat Maharaj thought he could solve the problem of the deer, but he couldn't actually. To try to do something that he left his meditation, he left his spiritual practice to try to solve a problem that he wasn't able to solve. Instead, if he surrendered, understood that I cannot solve this problem, he would have made the situation have been different. Obviously, we would not have learned from a story then, so the suffering happens for us to learn from this, and the deer was not an ordinary deer, and we know the story of Jara Bharat and everything. So, but it's important for us. The false ego thinking that I'm in control, I can solve all problems is very dangerous. So we have to let go of this, right? And this is, for those of you who work especially, this is something that is phenomenal to practice in the office. I can share with personal experience that when you are in a tight situation, our teachings of our corporate world is how do we solve it? How do we solve it? How do you solve it? But the minute you get to a point where you are like, you acknowledge that, look, we've hit a stage where I don't think we can solve this problem. Let's step back and look at it. It's actually a fairly new concept. And people respect you for that because it shows consistently that you are understanding where the limits are, right? But because that's something we don't talk about, understanding the limits. So this is a great thing to practice. Understand, like, get rid of false ego, right? It helps us. Liberation, letting go is the most peaceful feeling. Now, we're almost wrapping up with class here. The 4 steps to attain peace that we talked about, giving up sense gratification, being desireless, giving up sense of proprietorship, being free of false ego, is this easy or hard? You can be honest with me. Hard? How many of you think this is hard? These 4 things are hard. Okay, I'm going to raise my hand too. I also think this is very hard. But Krishna is very kind. Krishna, who has given these 4 things how to attain real peace, has also given us shortcuts in the Bhagavad Gita. He's given us 5 shortcuts. If we remember these 5 things, not in order, if we remember these 5 things, then we can attain real peace. Number 1. Okay? Number 1. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifice and austerity, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from pangs of material miseries. So, shortcut number 1, understand that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary. Understand that this means Krishna cares about every single entity. Krishna will take care. Understand that. And it is something that we have to keep reminding ourselves. We have to keep meditating on this. That Krishna here, and he says this, he's the supreme lord of all planets and demigods. He's a benefactor of all living entities. He cares about everybody. Remember that. Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary. Meditating on the Krishna who's the ultimate beneficiary is one shortcut to achieving peace. We don't worry about our false ego, put everything aside and just meditate on the Lord. Step 2. Krishna wants us to be peaceful even when we fail. In the 9th chapter, Vaikuntha Balaji Prabhu spoke about this 2 Sundays ago, I think, on this verse. So in this verse, Krishna first says, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he's to be considered saintly because he's properly situated in his determination. The next verse after that, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma, Krishna says, he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O Kunti, O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So the second shortcut is understanding that Krishna wants us to become peaceful even when we fail. So in our desire, we are trying our attempts. We are trying to give up sense of proprietorship, but it's not happening all the time. We're trying to be desirous. It's not happening all the time. We're trying to not have sense gratification. It's not happening all the time. Like sometimes, a cake is a cake. Like I want to be sense gratified by eating a piece of cake, and that's okay. Right? Even if we fail, Krishna wants us to be peaceful. Because Krishna knows that if we're peaceful, what will we become? No, happy. What will happen if we become peaceful? Happiness. I just want to make sure everyone is still awake here. The class is becoming positive, right? We've stopped with the very scary statistics, I promise now. So the third thing Krishna tells us, a shortcut, is our happiness is serving Krishna in devotion. Our happiness happens when we serve Krishna in devotion. Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Think about that just for 1 second here. Krishna is saying here that he's equal to everyone. However, if you render some service to him, he is your friend. Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, which he spoke over 5,000 years ago, has been heard by great sages before and after, continues to be read around the world. This year, the goal is to get 3.7 million Gitas distributed in 3 months. Like, these are big stuff. To all of these people, Krishna is telling that if you render service unto me, I can become your friend. So Krishna here is establishing that if we serve Krishna in devotion, we will get happiness. And we will get peace. Because without peace, there is no happiness. The fourth thing, shortcut Krishna gives us, is if we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna fills in the gaps. Even though we may not have everything there, we just have to realize, worship Krishna with exclusive devotion. Krishna says here, those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. That means your efforts don't have to be perfect. They just have to be there. Our desire sometimes to be perfect is what causes us not to do anything. I promised I won't give statistics, but I have to give the statistic, right? I don't know if it's a statistic or a joke. They say like every resolution that is made on Jan 1st is broken on Jan 2nd. It's broken on Jan 2nd. He's not here to hear what she just said. That's funny. Yeah. So it's broken on Jan 2nd. Why? Why do you think people break resolutions on Jan 2nd? It's hard to keep up. It's Jan 5th? It's Jan 5th now? Okay, so people have now ability to keep up resolution for 4 days. I'm glad to hear that humanity has that much of willpower now, 4 days. But even then, right, why? Why do you think this is not, everyone knows this, right? Has anyone here been able to keep up a resolution for a whole year? If you have, please raise your hands because that deserves an applause. Anyone? 6 months? 3 months? 6 months? Very good. Let's give a round of applause. Because it's an accomplishment. I'm not joking. It's a big deal. 3 months? Anyone's been able to keep up resolutions for 3 months? 30 days? I've done 30 days. 30 days? 30 days, good. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you, Prabhu. 30 days? These are big deal, right? Why? And the reason why we struggle with resolutions is because of our desire to be perfect. If we are not perfect, we feel, I can't do this anyway. I'm going to step back. Instead, if you reevaluate and go like, well, maybe I cannot go to the gym for 30 minutes every day. That's not smart. Maybe I should cut it down to 20 minutes and see if 20 minutes can be done. Oh, yeah. Oh, if not, let's do 10, 5. No, what we do, we just stop. I mean, I'm being very honest. Like, I had a personal resolution to read Srimad Bhagavatam every day for a certain amount of time. I did it for 5 days. I also did till Jan 5th. Yes, I also did till Jan 5th. 5 days. Then the 6th day, we had some program or something. I couldn't read all weekend. Now, intelligent, I should just be like, it's okay if I didn't read this weekend. I can still pick up on Monday. I'm like, I didn't read for 2 days. Now what's the point? The whole year has gone by. I haven't touched Bhagavatam. It's because we have desire for anyone else. Is this story familiar or is it just me? Yeah? It happens all the time, right? Because we want it to be perfect. So Krishna here is telling, it's okay if it's not perfect. I'll carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So when we remember that even our efforts are not perfect, if we take that step towards Krishna, Krishna will help us. Krishna will help us find the inner peace. And finally, one of the most important things is if we are able to share these teachings with others, Krishna guarantees pure devotional service. Krishna guarantees that we will be happy. Because why we will be happy if we share this with others? Because this is what makes Krishna extremely happy. So in Bhagavad Gita 18:68, Krishna says, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. And Krishna follows this up by saying, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. We know that a great way to find peace and happiness is by sharing it with others, right? On the holidays, like just imagine, and I was thinking of this today, imagine, just take a moment to reflect. For Christmas, we go to the store and we buy gifts only for ourselves, not for others. Or on Diwali, you make all of these like sweets and savory items, but decide not to share it with anyone. And by anyone, I mean people in your own house. How would you feel about that? Would you enjoy doing that? You know? Vaman Hari Prabhu, imagine if you made your halwa and only you eat it and not share it with us. Would you like it? No, right? It's not a fun feeling. The joy happens in what? In sharing. You know, devotees, some of them have just come from the kitchen. They've been sitting, cooking all morning, frying puris till I don't know till how long, since when they've been frying puris for. Why? Imagine if they all just made 2 puris each and little sabzi, you know, like, okay, we'll give Krishna and then we at least share with Krishna because Krishna will make happy. We'll share with Krishna. Forget about everybody else. They can eat themselves. We'll just eat. Yeah? If they thought like that, we wouldn't get to honor amazing prasad after this class, right? If everyone thought, by the way, we're almost done, but can you all come a little closer? It's getting just this side. I promise I won't bite. Or sneeze at you. My sneezing has stopped a little bit, so it's good. If that is why you were sitting that far away from me, I will not sneeze at you. Come closer. Thank you. So, Krishna here, so our joy actually, our happiness comes when we get to share something with others. If we hold everything to ourselves, we are known as what? What is the word, English word? Someone say? Proprietors. We think we own it, we become proprietors, but we're also miserly because we're not sharing it, right? Are we proprietors of the Bhagavad Gita, of the spiritual knowledge? No. So what should we do with it? Share it. We have to share this here. So Krishna here is saying so beautifully that for one who does this, no one in the world is more dear to me. So imagine if you do things that please Krishna the most. Are you going to be happy or sad? Happy. Are you going to be peaceful or miserable? Peaceful. So when you do what Krishna wants, you're going to be the most happy. So these are 5 very easy ways to make Krishna happy, and by that way you can become happy. Are these 5 easier? Are these 5 easier? I want to recap these 5 a little bit here quickly, and then we will wrap up. So the first is understand Krishna to be the ultimate beneficiary. The second one, understand that Krishna wants us to be peaceful even when we fail. Understand that our happiness is in serving Krishna with devotion. Understand that if we take one step towards Krishna, he fills in the gaps. And finally, understand that if we share this knowledge with others, Krishna will be extremely happy. And in Krishna's happiness is our happiness. So, in real short, to summarize the class here, there's really 2 things we need to do to make Krishna happy. 2 things. The first thing is serve Krishna, and the second thing is share Krishna. Serve Krishna and share Krishna. And if we can serve Krishna and share Krishna, we can find peace. And once we find that real peace, real happiness is right there. It's right there. You don't have to buy all the self-help books to discover what real happiness is, because once we are peaceful, happiness is right there. So final question for you all is, how do we serve Krishna? There's one verse there are many verses, but I'm looking particularly for one verse. How do you serve Krishna? Yes, that wasn't the verse I was looking for, Prabhu, but yes, that's valid. Actually, that is there also in the verse I'm thinking about. How do we serve Krishna? Yes. And where does chanting his holy name come from, Prabhu? Yes. Satyatam Kitayantu Mama is also correct. There's a lot of ways, a lot of right answers. The verse I'm thinking of is the 9 processes of bhakti that Prahlad Maharaj described. So you can serve Krishna by any of these processes. Hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord worshipful respect, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming a servant, considering the Lord's one friend, and surrendering everything unto me. Unto him. This is so profound. Krishna has not given us one way to serve him. Krishna has given us 9 ways to serve him. And then the most beautiful thing of these 9 ways is this actually becomes 18 ways. Because all of this you can do for Krishna's devotees also. Right? You can hear the glories of Krishna's devotees. You can chant the glories of Krishna's devotees. You can remember the glories of Krishna's devotees. So 18 different ways by which you can serve Krishna. 18 ways. Unique. Each person can have their own way to serve Krishna. It can be a combination of each of these, And it's so beautiful. Krishna has given us the map. And this is the most wonderful thing about Supreme Personality. There are many things wonderful about Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I really feel Krishna does not leave anything ambiguous. Everything is very clear. You want to serve me? Here, 9 ways to serve me. You want peace? This is how you get peace. You want happiness? This is how you get happiness. Very clear. There's no I have to use my intelligence to interpret. Here is the 9 ways you can serve Krishna. How do we share Krishna in devotion? Can anyone think of a verse that talks about how do we share Krishna? I'll give a hint. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, thank you. The verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu says, Yare dekha taro kaho Krishna upadesh, amara agnyaya guruhana tara edesh. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Krishna as they're given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. Mahaprabhu is giving this instruction to everyone, every man, woman, child here, that our job is to share Krishna with everyone that we meet. Instruct everyone. There is no distinction, no there's not only certain people should hear, no, everyone should hear about the glories of Krishna, because this will help everyone find peace. And this, so this is how we can serve and share Krishna. This peace mission to serve and share Krishna it's important, and that's why I'm calling it a peace mission, right? The more we serve, the more we share Krishna, we find peace within ourselves, and peaceful people are going to spread peace, right? You know? And it's very important to notice that if you're peaceful within, you're going to spread peace to others. So yesterday, and this is something that we should be doing all the time, because unrest is there all the time. You know, it's not just about conflicts that we're reading about in the news and things like that, right? Conflict is there all the time. And it's important for us to keep remembering this. Yesterday, we celebrated the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. We sang some bhajans in his glory today. So in the first meeting, when Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Prabhupada and his friend, you know, you are young men. Why, and you can speak good English, you're educated, you know, you should be spreading Lord Chaitanya's mission. And Srila Prabhupada said to him that, you know, right now, who's going to listen? India is not independent yet. We're dependent. We're on British rule. People are not happy. Like, this is not the time for us to be spreading Mahaprabhu's mission. Like, who's going to listen? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and this is a quote from Prabhupada Lilamrita, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied in a quite deep voice that Krishna consciousness didn't have to wait for a change in Indian politics, nor was it dependent on who ruled. Krishna consciousness was so important, so exclusively important, that it could not wait. That means this peace mission to serve and share Krishna, we should not wait any longer. So in 2024, this is something that we can work on. This is something that we can meditate on. How can we share and serve Krishna? Few more minutes? Ramaji Prabhu? Yeah? Okay. So it's very interesting, you know, for me. First of all, thank you so much for everyone attending, and hopefully you learned something interesting from the class today. But it's really interesting because I also gave the class on Jan 1st, 2023, this year. So I gave the first class of the year and last class of the year. So I want to ask a pop quiz. I know some of you were there that day in the class. I actually looked on the pictures to make sure who was there. So does anyone remember what was the verse I spoke on? It's a tough question. It's been 365 days. So it's a tough question. Does anyone remember? I hope you all enjoyed the class. Okay, I'm not going to trouble you all further. So the class I gave was from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 20 to 178, which is the Panchanga Bhakti, the 5 limbs of Bhakti. Sadhu Sangha, Namak Kirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathura Vasa, Shri Murtira, Shraddhaya Sevan. One should associate with devotees, chant the holy name of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, recite at Mathura, and worship the deity with faith and veneration. And then these 5 limbs of devotional service are the best of all. Even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love for Krishna. So, Taran Krishna Prabhu, are you ready? Okay, just give me 1 second. So, we spoke about this verse that time, and we took collective goals. You know, all of us who were sitting in the class, if you remember, we took a collective goal that we want to work on these 5 things. Sadhu Sangha, Namakirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathuravas, and Murti Seva. And we talked about how we can practically do this. And you know, this was a promise that we took in front of Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. Do you all want to see how we did? Did we meet our goals? Do you all want to see a little bit? Taran Krishna Prabhu, should we show them? It was staggering, actually, while making the video, just to see, sharing with Arun Kishore Prabhu this morning. I didn't even realize we had that many programs and that many guests last year until I actually started like going through each month. I'm like, wow, we did so much, hosted over, there was, I think, 17 senior devotees that came in 2023 this year, almost 22 Sankirtan events. I don't even know how many plates of prashadam distributed. So many of our community members coming together to make this a reality. So it really, like, thank you to all of you. And it was very hard to condense that into like a 5-minute video because your contributions have just been immense this year. So thank you to all of you for like smashing your goals in 2023 of accomplishing all of this together. So at the end of the slide, that's what it said. Your resolutions for 2024 are set. It's these 5 things, very simple, right? Sadhu Seva, Sadhu Sangha, association with devotees, Bhagavad Shravan, reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, sharing Srimad Bhagavatam, and chant Nama Kirtan, chanting the holy name, Mathura Vas, recite, going to visiting dhams or serving here, right here in Radhakund Dhams, Radhakund Dham. My God, I made Round Rock into Radhakund Dham right now. So in Round Rock, and of course serving Shishi Radhakunj Bihari with so much faith and veneration. So thank you for this, and please continue. We hope you get to do that next year as well, and along with our 2 very simple goals that we added, right, which are serve Krishna and share Krishna. They tie into all 5. You can do all 5 and serve and share Krishna. So before we conclude the class today, I wanted to close the class off with this really beautiful prayer from Srimad Bhagavatam that Prahlad Maharaj says. It comes in the prayers of the residents of Jambudweep. And in this prayer, Prahlad Maharaj is praying for peace and good fortune throughout the universe. He says, Swasti astu vishvasya khala prasidatam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodya manascha badram bhajata dadhokshaje aveshyatam no matir api ahaituki. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in the thought of Him. This is our collective wish for each and every one of us for 2024, that may we always engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, and remain absorbed in His thoughts of Him. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Wishing you all again a very happy new year, and we look forward to seeing and serving you for some exciting weekends next year. Hare Krishna.